I'll be showing you how to integrate Veryfi Lens with your Android project. So the first thing you'll want to do is make a new project. You're going to scroll down over to Material 3, hit Next, and then Finish. The next thing to do is head over to the Veryfi Hub, and under Mobile Docs, you're going to select Framework Android. This is where we keep things like the release notes with the current versions, but our main focus is going to be adding the Lens framework to our project. So this is an example of the bare minimum you need in your settings.gradle. The main thing here is the actual Maven repository. We're going to go to our project, go to Gradle scripts, go to settings.gradle, and we're going to paste that Maven repository right here. So now that we've pasted this in, you also want to make sure you have your username and password so you can access the Maven repository. In order to get these, we're going to head on back to the hub. We're going to go over to manage our Maven access credentials, and we're going to click on that link. If you don't know how to access it, you can also access this by going to settings and keys. But we can scroll down over to Lens Maven Android. We're going to hit add an access key, and I'm just going to fill this out now. You can do that on your own. And now that we're back here, I'm going to put in these dummy credentials so I can actually download the repository. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the Veryfi Lens dependency into our build.gradle app file. Just make sure to replace those X's with the desired version of Lens SDK you want to use. So I'm going to go to the build.gradle app file. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to dependencies and paste in that line. And I'll use the most recent version, 17011. Now we'll configure our project to use the Lens SDK. This example file is the minimum required configuration needed to run it. So if we actually go ahead and take a look at our build.gradle file, you could see I have about the same or greater version numbers for some of these. The only thing I'm really missing is this Android resources no compress verify line. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that. I'm going to copy paste it in, and that should be everything I need to configure my project. Up next, these next configurations are actually optional. You don't really need to include them. The only exception is actually step 6. If your app uses the allow backup tag or the uses clear text traffic tag, you need to include the following settings in your activity section of your Android manifest.xml file. Going back and opening up the Android manifest, the only thing I really have that's applicable is this allow backup equals true flag. So instead of adding this whole ignore line and replace line, I can just delete this instead. And that's all I'd have to do. I'll just go ahead and sync this, and there we go. So now we can go ahead and we can initialize Lens. We're going to start by getting our authentication credentials and creating a Veryfi Lens credentials object. So we can go ahead and go over into our main activity file. We're going to first delete the just filler lines in the on-click listener. We're going to replace that eventually. And once that's done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to paste in our Veryfi Lens credentials lines. Just make sure to fill out these X's with your actual credentials. I'll show you how to get them later. So now that we're done with the credentials, we can go ahead and configure our Lens settings. I'm just going to copy the first line. You can copy more if you want, but they are all optional. All you really need is that Veryfi Lens settings initialization line. I'll go ahead and do the imports. And once that's done, we are ready to go and initialize Lens. So we have our credentials and we have our settings. All we have to do is do Veryfi Lens.configure with those two parameters. Once we're done with our configuration, we're ready to initialize Lens. So we can paste this line in. We will do the imports, so import Veryfi Lens, and we'll also replace the this word with application. And now Veryfi Lens is all set up and ready to go. The next step is to launch Lens inside our app. We're going to do this using the Veryfi Lens show camera function. So go ahead, copy that line. We're going to put it in the set on click listener. So when we actually push that button in the default application, we launch the Veryfi Lens camera. So once that's done, there are also other things you can do with Veryfi Lens inside the guide, but we're just going to skip over that for now. We really just want to focus on communicating with Lens, and we do that through set delegate. So the Veryfi Lens delegate has 4 main functions. close, error, success, and update. And we're going to go ahead and copy this, and we're going to paste it into our project. We'll put it right below show camera. And we also need to run some of the imports, so like importing the lens delegate, importing JSON object, and also importing the log. We also need to define what our tag is. This could be anything you want. Just for simplicity's sake, I'll call it Veryfi Lens. All these functions really do is that whenever an event happens and we get the JSON back, we're just going to output that right to the console. So that's the JSON data for our lens close, lens error, lens success, and lens update events. And that's all being printed under the Veryfi Lens tag, so I'll just go ahead and filter that right now. We'll also need to paste in our API credentials before we can build. To find your API credentials, just go to Settings and Keys. Then just copy the information that we need. So now we're ready to build and run the app. Here we are inside of the app. The only change I made, if you recall, is changing that on-click listener to show camera. So I'll click the button now, and this is the Android Studio AR space. Before this demo, I actually went ahead and added in this Costco receipt inside of the AR space. If you're doing this in real life, you could do this with an actual receipt, but already Veryfi is recognizing it's drawing a green bounding box around the receipt. I'll take a photo. I'll go ahead and submit that, and now you can see we have an in progress status, so that means it's processing, and it's already done. So here we go. We have a success. This is all of the extracted information in the form of JSON. So that was how to integrate Veryfi Lens with your Android application. Hopefully this was a good starting point for you, but if you have any questions, you can always leave a comment down below.